Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Nurexone Biologic Inc. Investor Webinar. My name is Prit Singh, and I'll be the moderator for today's call. For those that are unfamiliar with the company, Nurexone is a biopharmaceutical firm based in Israel that is leveraging exosome technology to treat damage to the central nervous system, primarily acute spinal cord injuries. Nurexone trades in the TSXV under the ticker NRX and on the Frankfurt Exchange under the ticker J90. Our presenter for today will be Dr. Lior Shautel, CEO of Nurexone. On today's call, we will be covering Nurexone's key business highlights and their growth outlook for 2024. If you have any questions during the webinar, feel free to send them in using the Zoom Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. If you are calling in to listen to the webinar today, please email us your questions directly to ir@nurexone.com. That's ir@nurexone.com. We will address these questions during the Q&A session at the end of the webinar. With that out of the way, I will now turn the call over to Dr. Lior Shautel.
Hey, Preet, how are you? Happy to be here. So let's start. Today webinar, I'm going to focus on the last activity of Nurexone Biologic. We have a lot to say, a lot to tell. The last few months were very intensive from our side and very positive. So let's start. This is the disclaimer as we are publicly traded. So before I start with some updates, let's do a snapshot of the company. The company is publicly traded, as Preet said, at the Toronto Stock Exchange Venture and also in Frankfurt and other German stock exchange. We are addressing a total market of $5.2 billion. And during this presentation, I will explain you that this actually numbers is split to two. One of them is our platform technology, and the second is the first indication that we chose to work on. The first indication is the acute spinal cord injury, and the idea is to sell it B2B, our product, which is exosome-based. Exosome-based probably is completely Chinese for you, and you don't understand, is full biology. I will explain you, of course, what we are doing and how we use those exosomes to have the best drug delivery system so far in the market. We have a strong team. I lead a team, and I will show you later the structure. The majority, of course, is in the R&D department led by Dr. Noah Avni, and professors, well-known Professor Shulamit Levenberg and Professor Nachshon Knoller, that part of our scientific advisory board. Just for example, Professor Nachshon Knoller led already in the past 3 clinical trials, specifically in acute spinal cord injury. He was the former neurosurgery leader of Sheba Hospital, and well-experienced professor. Our mission is very short. We want to change the way we recover our nerve system, or specifically the central nerve system, from injury, allow the nerves to regenerate and rewire. With that, we can cause the regeneration and functional recovery. So it's recovery, regenerating, and rewiring the nerves. The last updates that I want to share with you is split to 3. First, we got Eureka grant this autumn. This is a 2-year grant. The first year is approved by the Israeli Innovation Authority, part of the Eureka International Program, as a bilateral grant, Canada-Israel. In total budget, only for Nurexone, the 2 years project is €1 million. We received the FDA orphan drug designation, and this is specifically a huge milestone for the company. The XOP10, our lead product, recognized by the FDA as orphan drug designation, which allow us 4 different advantages in the market. First of all, we can move this exopitan faster to pediatric drug. We will be allowed to get the tax benefits in the US when we start to operate clinically. We will be waiver from all the FDA and regulatory costs in the US. And third, during the process of the clinical development, moving from a pre-IND to the IND and further, we are going to be entitled later for fast track and working faster with the FDA. The third update is that we complete just in the beginning of this year a private placement in a value of 2 million Canadian dollars, which allow us enough runway to start and continue our the 2024 and in the aim is to get to the 2025 to be first in human. So what we actually do, Nurexone is a spin-off company, came from 2 elite universities, the Technion and it's the MIT of Israel based in Haifa, and Tel Aviv University in Tel Aviv as the name. 2 renowned professors that joined together for a very long process of developing a regeneration of the spinal cord injury. Based on success results that I will show you shortly, the company was established and we continue to work on the acute spinal cord injury as our main indication. In parallel, as we show regeneration in several proof of concept, we are going to use this product also for other indications. So as I said, we have to differentiate it between 2 main terms. First of all is the exotherapy. Exotherapy is the platform technology that we use. We create this platform based off the tech transfer activity that Nurexone did, moving from academy to industry. And what we create by that, of course, all is based on IP license or owned by the company. We have 3 different pillars: how to produce exosomes in 3D, how to load exosomes post-production without gene modification of the cells, and what we load. We are specialized in siRNA, and that is stabilized and function also after loading. Exopitan is just an example. We have other products on our portfolio that aiming other targets protein. This loading technique that I mentioned as a second pillar can be universal. It can be for siRNA, small peptides, small protein, and small molecules, which allow in the future, in the near future, Nurexone to license this technology to other companies, allow them to use this for their advantages. By the way, now it's publicly disclosed already. Our patent, loading patent, is since December public. So other companies finally can understand what we do. I can elaborate that in our case, we use a small moiety conjugate to our siRNA, and this is unique in the fact that this moiety is hydrophilic and not hydrophobic. And this moiety can allow this small cargo get into the exosomes. I will explain with more figures what we actually do in just a few slides. So those are the results that we got just before the company established. And we can see here results that published from 2019. This is the publication that with this publication the company established. We see 4 different conditions: healthy, transection, this is the model of full transection of the spinal cord injury, and then using 2 ways of therapy. empty exosomes, or naive exosomes, in other words, and exoP10, which is our loaded exosomes. In the healthy, you can see everything is intact. Of course, the rats in this case can feel the legs, everything is okay, full functionality. The second, you see full transaction. You can see a lesion, and you have a gap, and there is no connectivity between the brain and the leg. So that means the rats will be full paralyzed. Third, you have the exosomes. Exosomes is our drug delivery system that has some kind of therapeutic effect. You can see some regeneration, okay? But this is not enough to show any restore functionality, even after 56 days. Only when you combine the exosomes and what we load, the siRNA against P10, we can see a synergistic effect, okay, based on the control, from the control, and this translates to restore functionality. Okay, you will say to yourself, nice, this results was where in 2019, it's long ago, I want to see a new proof. And indeed, we did it again, and actually we did it a third time even from different supplier, and we see the same results. What is the results? We see in the middle, regeneration of the spinal cord injury, and the gap that we see in the transaction is completely disappeared. This is also can measure in functional, and on the gap that we have, we return this is the orange, and we return the FA value, which is actually what is the weight here, how width is the spinal cord injury after the lesion, and this is returned to be in the same width like a normal rats, okay? And the intact, of course, is the healthy, everything is functionally, and so we really can see regeneration, and spinal cord injury is, I would say, the tip of the iceberg. If we see spinal cord injury in the central nervous system, the spinal cord injury, we can see also regeneration of other type of nerves in other indication. But let's focus on one indication. Our indication is acute spinal cord injury, and I will show you more results on that. So we remember I said that the total market is $5.2 billion. Why? Because we have two different business models. One is the portfolio company. We have several products. One of them is ExoP10. We have another 3 products in our portfolio that aim specifically to have regeneration of neurons, also for other indications. This market, only for the acute spinal cord injury, is estimated by $2.9 billion by 2027. In parallel to that, based on our platform, we can target also different indication and different properties, okay, based on our exosome-based therapy, okay? And this market of the exosome-based diagnostic and therapeutic is estimated to reach $2.4 billion in 2030. And this is a very, very hot market. Like I would say 15 years ago, it was the CAR T cells. And it's become more and more attractive because more and more companies understand the potentials of the exosome. I will skip this. I explained that it was already from the Technion and Tel Aviv. We have the PCT, and we have, of course, the license to work on this indication. By the way, the first IP license from the Technion and Tel Aviv was granted last year in the US. So why it's so attractive to work with exosomes, and what are the exosomes? And it's really interesting to explain. Exosomes is a small bilayer vesicle, very tiny vesicles that secrete from cells in our body. Each one of us has exosomes. Okay, the idea of having exosomes, or the nature of exosomes, is to communicate between cell and cell. We use it to our advantage to that we will be able to transfer cargo that we would like to have. For example, if we take the exosomes here and add to that post-production our siRNA in exoP10 is the siRNA against the protein P10, we can get a product of loaded exosomes by our request. Which siRNA do we use? You get the different drug. Why it's so attractive to work with exosomes? And this is summarized like just few of the advantages of working with exosomes. First of all, in our case, we use it in the administration intranasally, which is non-invasive. You don't need to locally inject. You don't need to IV inject. We use as a proof of concept in intranasal administration of our exosomes, meaning through the nose. Second is the exosomes is not toxic. Using exosomes are not toxic. You have a very good toxicity profile, okay, which allow them to be off-the-shelf therapy. What does it mean? It's not a personal medicine. I can treat in one vial or one batch several people. That will reduce dramatically the operation costs. Third, that since we're working intranasally, there is a reason for that. The reason is that those exosomes, not like other drugs, can cross very easily the BBB, the brain-blood barrier, which allows them, as we see in this figure below, to penetrate directly to the nerves system, the central nerve systems. And from there, it's going directly to the lesion. Why? Because those exosomes are homing specifically to inflammation. This is their nature. When there is an inflammation, where there is an injury, exosomes will accumulate. The fifth one, and I think it's not mentioned here, but it's very important. Those exosomes are not just drug delivery systems like other carrier that we know in the past, like the vaccines for COVID or liposomes with the doxil. These exosomes are a drug delivery system with a therapeutic effect. They are not empty. They carry a lot of goodies that needs to serve the targeted cells, where the tissue is damaged. So we use that for our advantage, this therapeutic effect, to add a synergistic effect with our API, our siRNA. About the IP of the company, the patents of the company, this is actually the core value of the company, and this is why the valuations needs to reflect it in a better way. What does it mean? We have in total 6 different families. The first one is the intranasal exoP10, which is the first patent that we licensed from the Technion in Tel Aviv. This is receive allowance and actually already granted in the US. We have 2 PCTs licensed from the Technion only regarding the production in 3D and the composition of matter of our exosomes. Our exosomes considered to be artificial exosomes. What does it mean? We control our production, and by that we can increase the secretion of our exosomes and make those exosomes even more potent, okay, and with a biological fingerprint. The highest value of IP is to have a composition of matter of our property. And indeed, we have it as in a PCT stage. We had in the past 4 provisionals, 3 of them move already for PCT, This including our loading technique, which is owned 100% by the company. It's not related to any institute. And targeted of siRNA against PTEN and others that are protected and are also in a PCT stage. So you can see we have the full package, exosome production, exosome loading, and what we load. This is our catalyst for the next year or so. You see what we achieved in the last years. We filed many patents, including protecting them in a PCT, and the situation in the patents are very, very positive. We established already the XP10 production. We prepared already for the pre-IND and submitted in last August. We received a very detailed answer, close to 30 pages from the FDA, and this is our guidance to transfer the company from a preclinical stage to a clinical stage and submitting the IND. We are finalized how the product will be, meaning which vendor we will buy the cells, the medium, etc. So we have those details, and now we are working on the analytic methods, how we control that each batch will be the same. In other words, we are closing our CMC, our chemistry, manufacturing, and control to make sure that each batch is valid and we can move on to a clinical stage. This is a long process, but we're expecting to have the IND in 2025, and a month later, we will be able to start our clinical trial. A bit about the leadership. I mentioned some of the words, some of the persons before. I think it's really important also to say that the company is also part of other enterprise that Yoram Drucker, a serious entrepreneur in Israel, holds. He has a very successful track record. He was the founder of Pluristem, now called Pluri, a late-stage pharmaceutical in Israel, and Burnstone, also clinical phase, late-stage phase 3 in the FDA. Who joined us recently, Noah Avni, after Dr. Liora Aronev left the company for another job as a CEO, and the two professors that I mentioned before. This is how the company look like. You see the majority of the employees are in the R&D, and this is our focus. We have 8 in total scientists, and the majority of them are actually with a PhD. All of them are responsible to produce data, including preclinical study with animals. We, in 2022-23, we include also our Dr. Ina Sarel, our head of CMC quality and regulation, to make sure that we are complying with the highest standards related to the FDA and the European agency, EMA. Together with me, an officer is the CFO, Eran Ovadia, has a long years of experience working mainly with Johnson & Johnson and other startup companies in Israel and abroad, including successful IPOs. Here's our scientific advisory board. In 2023, we add to our scientific advisory board Professor Theodor Dari. He is a professor in Mayo Clinic and also a professor in Belfast, neurosurgery, professor working on the interface between the clinical data and the entrepreneurship. Professor Nachshon Kloller I mentioned, the two inventors, Professor Daniel Offen and Professor Shulamit Levenberg from Technion. Professor Michael Belkin is also a clinician, but with a very strong entrepreneurship background. He is company, Belkin Pharma, got recently FDA approved. He is ophthalmologist, and you understand from that what is also our next indication to go. And together with him, Professor Gabriel Zelig, he is coming from the rehabilitation unit at Sheba Hospital. And this is very important to say that when we are dealing with acute spinal cord injury and other severe injury in the CNS, we need to be able to communicate between the neurosurgery and also the rehabilitation. And that's the reason that we would like to have Gabriel Zelig in our scientific advisory board. Directors, we have 5 directors. I'm the CEO and a director in the company. Yoram Drucker as a founder is part of the board. We have Gadi Riesenfeld. He is the former president of Pharmos, late stage pharmaceutical, worked many years in the US. And with him, we have the 2 Canadians that are serving on the board is Mr. Oded Orgil and James Richardson. He was the CEO of our shell company, Inner Spark, bringing to the board many years of experience. This is the structure so far, and this is after the financial round this January. In total, we have common shares of 55 million. We have options less than 10% of the total. A restricted share for officers. We have warrants from different financial rounds. The majority of the warrants will be expired this year. And we are looking forward to that some of the warrants will be translated to further investment in the company. The full diluted shares capital is 87 million, almost 88 million shares. So as a take-off message for today's seminar, just say we finish our half an hour. So I hope I could convince you that we are dealing here with the cutting-edge biotechnology that holding a very strong commercial properties, and those properties in the field of exo-based therapy, especially for the spinal cord injury, but not only. We have a platform that can change the way that many companies work to deliver a drug to a patient. And we want to use this platform with our first product, Exopitan, into a clinical stage in 2025. You could see our strong leadership and the team that I built in the last 2.5 years. Those are highly talented professionals with many years experience in exosomes and in drug delivery system. And I believe that in this year we will have several news related to our platform and related to our achievement communicating with the FDA and the development process into the clinical stage. With that, I would finish, and I will take your questions, please.
Thanks, Lior. This is Prit Singh again. We'll now proceed to the Q&A session. As a reminder, if you have any questions right now, you can send them into the Zoom Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. If you're calling in today, please email us at ir@nurexone.com. Again, that's ir@nurexone.com. First question. How does Nurexone differ from other treatments currently on the market?
So we can differentiate the treatment in three aspects. First of all, there are cell therapy. All of them, by the way, are not approved by the FDA or other agencies. Those are products under development. So we have small molecules or antibodies, for example, like Nurexone, okay, working on regeneration of neurons, or using cells to regenerate the tissue. That's one. Second, you can use what is common is surgery, okay, which is done by neurosurgery, try to heal or connect the nerves that damage. And third, if this doesn't work, there are one or two companies that are working on electric stimulation, try to create a bridge between the nerve that is functioning and the nerve that it's cut, and try to pass the signal through the gap. Those are the three main ways to find a treatment for spinal cord injury. What Nurexone offer here is unique. First of all, it's non-invasive, it's intranasal, it's easy to administer, non-toxic, and it can be treated even by the patient, because in the end, the patient can just sniff it, and through a very short time, we estimate around 2 weeks, and at least in rats, we see regeneration and functional recovery.
Okay, thank you. Next question here. Can you expand on the regulatory landscape for Nurexone and the potential for FDA approval?
So first of all, exosomes are part of biological drugs, okay? So we need to get a BLA. It's considered to be a cell therapy, but it's quite strange because the therapy itself is not consisting any cells. Those exosomes are not proliferated like CAR T or other cell therapy. Those are secreted from the cells, but the product itself, the final product, is without cells. That makes the process a bit faster, because a lot of concerns that the FDA had in the past dealing with cells are not existing here. Those exosomes cannot be turned to a cancer or tissue because they are not cells. Nevertheless, the process is long, like any other pharmaceutical company. We have our shortcut. One of shortcut that I mentioned in this case is that we received the orphan drug designation, and this will help us to move faster into clinic. Second, the fact that we passed successfully the pre-IND meeting give us a very specific guidance from the FDA. One of the important message that we received from the FDA, and we also shared with the public, is that the FDA, due to our results, does not see any need to move to a large animal. That means after completing the full preclinical experience with rat, we can move directly to human. And that's will short our research and our path to see this product in human, hopefully in 2025.
Okay, thank you. Next question. How does your company plan to continue investing in research and development for Nurexone to ensure long-term success?
So it's like that. First of all, since we have assets, some of the assets can be licensed. That's one way of business. For example, taking our loading moiety and working with a big pharma on a project will bring us as a company development milestones and upfront fee that will allow us to run the business. That's one. Second, we have still quite many warrants from the last rounds. I hope that will be executed and we will get from that also further investment. Third, we are working on business-wise on strategic relationship with large companies to partner with us regarding cell source, regarding other using exosomes for different other therapies. Those projects will allow us to finance our own research. And lastly, of course, we always, when the time is right, we just finished the private placement. I don't think that we are going to raise soon a significant amount, but when the time will be needed, we can always turn to another round of investment as a life, or we did last time as a private investment from professional investors.
Okay, perfect.
I would say this is our last option, and we don't like to use it so often. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Are there any plans to potentially acquire other companies to unlock synergies?
Yeah, I think in general, I would say 2024, this is the year of having synergies, because there are many opportunities in market. There are companies that are even public companies that trade under their cash, and companies that would like to find a company as Nurexone with a strong international properties that can have a new way of development to the company that will buy Nurexone or will acquire Nurexone. So I think there is a lot of potential of M&As. It's a bit too early for us in general, but we are open-minded. Usually our company, as a biopharmaceutical company, the value, the right value for the company is achieved after phase 2. So I believe that when we will have the first data on human trials, our evaluation will be significantly higher, or even after a strong LOI with a significant big US or international company that will bring added value for the company. So I would like to present, first of all, more achievement, and then I think M&A will be can be also considered.
Okay, excellent. Just last question. For our investors on the call, what are some catalysts they can expect over the next 6 months?
So I would say business-wise, some business activity that we are working on. We would like to get the ODD designation also in Europe. Europe is also a strong market for us. So as we got in the US, we would like to achieve also this goal also in Europe. This is regulatory-wise. We will share information about new grants that we may get. We submit more grants. So yeah, there are more catalysts on the way this year. Knowing that the main catalyst for the XOP10 and the IND will be only in 2025. There are other products that will develop in parallel in our company, and those will come more to the public knowledge, and this will create, I think, a strong catalyst.
Perfect. Thank you. I believe that's all for questions. So thank you, Lior, for your time.
Sure.
As a reminder to our audience, Nurexone does trade on the TSXV under the ticker NRX and on the Frankfurt Stock Exchange under the ticker J90. And for those that aren't familiar with the company, again, Nurexone is a biopharmaceutical company based in Israel that is leveraging exosome technology to treat damage to the central nervous system.
Mhm.
Thank you again for joining our webinar today.